Welcome to December 2nd, 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals here in Washington Township. It's been a little bit. Our last meeting was back in August. If everybody would please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we had a call to order. The Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals opens their regular meeting, which is held in person at 57900 Van Dyke, Washington Township, Michigan, 48094 at Washington Township Municipal Building in the boardroom on Monday, December 2nd. Roll call right now. I'll take the roll call. Troy Kozel, here. Ben Pollock, here. Bob Sacco,
Yes.
Mike Powell,
Here.
and Michelle Milam.
Here.
All right, I'd like to welcome Michelle to
Thank you.
The Zoning Board of Appeals. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, Michelle.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
For those that don't know, Dan Dukowski is now has stepped down, and Michelle is our new trustee that'll be sitting on the Zoning Board of Appeals with us and working with us. So we're happy to have you.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
At this time, does anybody have any conflicts of interest that they see? Any conflicts of interest? All right, before we make a motion to approve the agenda, one of the things that I'd like to see currently on the agenda, we have number 11, election of officers. The secretary position, Mr. Dan Dukowski was the secretary. So I propose that we move that up into at the start of the new business.
I'll second that. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approval of the minutes?
I'll approve the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Agenda.
What's that?
Your agenda.
Yep, we got the agenda, we got the minutes.
Yep.
Correspondence, old business, no old business.
Okay.
All right, and now moving up, election of officers, secretary position. Mr. Dan Dukowski was the secretary, so I'll make a motion to nominate Ms. Michelle Milam to be the current secretary.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I think in our tradition, I think it's been quite interesting that the board-appointed person to the zoning board has been the secretary in recent memory. I think as long as I've been on, I think that's been the tradition, so we continue it.
I'm honored.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Thank you very much for doing
Thank you again.
that. All right. And now we can move right on into new business. All right, new business, letter A, Verandian Phase 3, public hearing, parcel number 240436300043, Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.13, Environmental Provisions, E, Natural Resource Protection 1, Natural Resource Greenbelt, A, 25-foot undisturbed greenbelt variance request for units 133 through 140, also 146, 147, and 150, the location east side of Shana Road, north side of 26 Mile Road. Do we have anybody representing the Verandian Phase 3 project?
Tight for space up here, but good evening, members. My name is Tom Callis, and also I represent Viridian Development LLC. My address is 31350 Telegraph Road, and that's Bingham Farms, Michigan. Also with me this evening is Brian Slitter from the developer, Vito Terracciano, also from the developer. And they're here to answer any questions you may have once we go through our presentation here. So this is a development, it's a three-phase development. It's a site condo development. I'm sure you're all aware of it. Phase one is actually in ground and homes have been constructed thereon. Phase two and phase three did receive a final condo site plan approval, I believe back in May 9th of this year, 2024. Now, one of the issues or the conditions, I should say, at the time of the approval was with respect to lots 133, and I'm going to blow this up for you a little bit so you can see the affected lots. Oops. What's going on here? Okay, there we go. So lot 133, which is down here, and it goes up to lot 140. So we have those lots, and then we also have lot 146, 147, and 150, which is further up. What's going on here? Hold on. Okay, here we go. So those lots are up here, 147, 146, and 150. Now those lots, the only part of it that encroaches, we have issues with, because there's a ditch. There's a drainage ditch that transverses the property, and those lots, the rear end of 133 through 140 abut, the property line abuts into that buffer area or required buffer area. Now, if you look at this drawing here, or this schematic, you can see the highlighted orange area. That's the rear yards for lots 133 through 140. And you can see that the orange area is the area that slightly encroaches within the wetland, the 25-foot wetland buffer area. Now, no, it doesn't encroach anywhere near the wetlands, or the ditch, I should say, the drainage ditch, which is right here, the gray area. And the only part of these lots that actually encroaches in that buffer area are the property lines. And it's engineered, again, phase 2 and 3 received final condo site plan approval and engineering. And the only, again, the property line and the storm sewer is the only thing that encroaches in that area. There will be no physical structures in that area, no decks, no patios, no pools, or anything of that nature. So one of our requests tonight is a variance from the 25-foot buffer for those lots, to allow those lots to encroach within that buffer area. And again, there will be no structures built in that area, nothing of a permanent nature other than the storm sewer. And, we're willing to put any language in the master deed that's required to make sure people are aware of that, people stay out of that area, and they know that they can't build anything in that area. The same issue we have with these lots here. Okay, you can see lot 150, the encroachment, the orange area, is a little bit more than in the other lots, 133 through 140. And down here, lot 146 and 147. You can see the encroachment again. The wetland buffer area and the property line is what encroaches in that area. Again, there will be no structures, no playscapes, no pools, no decks, nothing that is built or allowed in those areas. Now, this is a process that has taken place, initially started in 2019 with the original plans being prepared, reviewed. It's been several years since then. 2021, I believe, is when the initial plans and engineering were submitted for phase 1. So it's a process that's been going on over the past 3-4 years. It's a beautiful development, as you're well aware, very popular development, nice, excellent layout, road pattern, just very aesthetically pleasing, and the homes being constructed on there are top-notch. It's being marketed to prospective buyers, obviously, so we're kind of in a catch-22 here because we have a phase 2 and 3 approved plan, but we have this variance that we're requiring for encroaching into the wetland buffer area. And again, the intent of the ordinance is to make sure, or at least my experience has been, when you have these buffer areas, they want enough distance between the actual wetland, which are, again, here is basically the drainage ditch, and the property lines to make sure that people don't spill over into the actual wetland, with whether they're putting a patio, a deck, or something of a permanent nature. But, again, here, there's not going to be any such encroachment of any structure. So, we're asking for a variance to allow us to leave the plan as is. There's no detriment at all to the municipality or to any of the public health, safety, or welfare. And, we're here for discussion. We did look at other options also with respect to this. We did look at the planning review letter that was submitted last week. And one of the suggestions was that for lots 133 through 140, and I'll go back to that one right over here. For these lots here, one of the suggestions was that we bring up the property line, bring it up. Again, the encroachment is generally 3 to 5 feet, depending on what area you're looking at. That we pull up the property line to get away from that 25-foot buffer, so we're completely out of it. And we would move our storm sewer up also to take it out of that buffer area. By doing that, we would still be we would still meet the minimum square foot requirement for those lots. And if it works from an engineering standpoint, now again, this is a site that's been site planned and engineered, so, it's going to present some difficulty for us, but, those are one of the options. We went back to our engineers, we looked at, and, we could possibly move those lines up and stay completely out of the buffer area and still meet the minimum 10,000 square foot requirement for these lots. So we wouldn't need any variance relative to those lots 133 through 140. Our concern is having to go back if we have to amend the site plan, because we did receive final condo site plan approval subject to, these lots, the time delay that would be required. And I don't know if we could just simply amend the site plan to pull those lot lines up, or if we have to resubmit phase 3 and start the site plan and engineering process from square one, which we can't afford that kind of time and expense at this point, especially when we're out actually marketing these lots for builders, and we have quite a bit of interest. Now, with respect to the other lots, the 3 other lots, which have a little bit more of an encroachment, and again, that's lot 146, 147, and 150, we could configure those lots to where, again, these are the estate-sized lots, so we don't want them to be too small. They're the bigger lots of the 3 phases. So, we've marketed them as such. The builders that have expressed interest are looking for those type of lots. So we have to be real careful here, because if we start reconfiguring the property lines and we lose a lot of square footage, it affects marketability and value for those lots and builders' interest in those lots. So, but with respect to these 3 lots, and what we have, we did a schematic with our engineers. We went back to our engineers, and I don't know if we can approach to show
Absolutely,
you.
yeah.
Brian here has some handouts.
Thanks.
Thanks, So this is just basically what you have up here, but with the 3 larger lots?
Yeah, these are the
Yeah.
3 larger lots. So what we're
Okay.
trying to do here is figure out how to make this work, to where you're happy, we're happy, we don't have to go back and kind of reinvent the wheel and start the process over again. So let's take, if you look at lot 146,
Okay.
we can actually reconfigure the property line, and we show that with the red line on this drawing. So we can reconfigure that property line, and you see we'll stay out of that 25-foot buffer, okay? So this lot will work also. It's not ideally what we would like, but it can be taken out of the 25-foot buffer with no variance required. If you look at lot 147, we'll take this to a 75-foot width. We don't want to take it down. I mean, you can say, well, why don't you go down to 70 feet? Because you can see there's where we clip that buffer area a little bit there, where it says 9 feet. You know, and if you take it down even further, we really don't want to do that because we don't want to, you know, we're marketing these as bigger lots. But if we leave it at 75 feet, here, what we can do, we would need, here's one lot where we would actually need a variance. And it would only be a variance to cut into that buffer where that 9-foot area is shown. Okay, so that would be one variance request.
And just to clarify on what Tom is stating, the minimum lot width in other areas is 75 feet. They go up to 80, 84, but 75 is really the minimum of the standard of the type of house that we develop, that we designed for this phase.
Yeah, so we'd like to keep it at 75, and again, it's just, again, a minor, very minor encroachment into that buffer area. And again, it's not encroaching on any wetland or what we consider wetlands. When we think of wetlands, we think of, you know, land that's wet, that, you know, birds are, you know, going to, or, you know, there's habitation. This is a ditch. It's a ditch, you know, that really is, there's not even a name for it, quite frankly, but it's there, you know, and we have to deal with it. So this would be a slight encroachment into that buffer area, which we would need a variance and would kindly request, you know, that you consider that. And then the last lot, which is lot 50, you can see on the drawing, 150, right? Yeah, 150. Again, we would take that to the minimum 75-foot width. You can see by the road. And this would encroach, you know, in that buffer, gray buffer area, 14.9 feet. Okay, so predominantly stays out of it, clips it right there at the corner, and, you know, what we've basically come down to is a variance request for lots 147 and 150 in that buffer area as shown on those drawings. And the other stuff, you know, we have a solution for it. You know, if you're not inclined to grant the variance requested, you know, in our application, which we submitted, and is very thorough and very detailed, you know, then alternatively, you know, again, we're here to make it work. So alternatively, you know, we can look at these options as you know, variance approvals.
How many total lots, Tom?
Oh, in the phase?
In phase?
49.
How many?
49 total.
49?
49, how many total from phases 1 and 2?
The whole development is 174.
174 lots. So you're here tonight asking about 12 lots.
Two, basically.
Two.
We will make the adjustments on the storm sewer for 133 through 40.
So those,
So our request tonight has changed from what the application is.
Which ones are you looking at?
We are looking at a variance on 147 and 150,
Just those two?
just those two.
Yeah.
I understand.
When you look at lot 151, I cannot read what the overall square footage across the front. On
You mean
150.
the distance?
Yes, on 151, what's the width on that?
151? Yeah, let's just flip here.
I can see it on my map, but I can't see a number. It doesn't look overly big at all.
It's 37 feet plus 38 feet.
So 70, yeah, that's 75.
75.
Yeah.
So if you were,
151 is, yeah, 75.11, and in the back it's 76.26.
so just a thought, why not combine that and make a larger estate-sized lot? You said estate-sized lots were going to be at least up to 80,
75 feet.
75?
75 to 80.
Minimum 70.
Minimum 75 to 80. I'm not seeing why you wouldn't want to consider making,
Well, when it gets one large lot, are you suggesting one?
well, not completely large, keep the buffer zone out completely, and just add the additional square footage and combine 150 and 151 to make a wider lot.
Then we lose a lot.
Yeah, we lose.
They're only Well, you certainly can sell. Sure.
So when we decided to do the entire development.
Take up the microphone.
Oh, excuse me, sir, can you stand at the microphone so everybody can hear?
Hi, my name's Vito Terracciano, and when we decided to buy the property from Utica Schools, we really took a lot of time in making sure we planned this correctly. So we have the first phase, which is they're more like condos, detached condos. We put a lot of open space in. We pushed the entire sub back 25 feet from the road, Brian, what was normal? Yeah, additional 25 feet, because we just didn't want to pack in a bunch of lots.
Sure.
So we thought about the entire phase 1, 2, and 3. And economically, we got to make sure that we make a certain amount of money. And because we put so much money in there, with the long boulevards and everything, this is highly important for us now. If we lose one lot, that price of that lot right there is $165,000. It's not a small number. And of course, what's gone on over the last several years, things have not been that great. So we're trying to maintain what we can over here. And then also on those lots, which is 133 through, I'm sorry, what is it? 133 through 140, we are willing to move the storm sewer, add extra storm drains, which will cost us more money. In order to give you guys all that, if we can get just on these 2 lots, we just need a small variance. So we were working on saying, okay, what can we do in order to make sure that we change things, and we've done everything that we can possibly do. So we're here to ask for your guys' help in maintaining all the lots that we have, a small variance on 150 and 147. And then, like I said, on 133 through 140, we're gonna move the storm drain. We're
Out
gonna
of the buffer.
Out of the buffer, we're gonna give you the total buffer. We're going to accommodate that, change everything. The other thing that we would ask Dana, that we don't have to go through the entire process. I don't know what becomes of that, if we can just.
If I could just clarify.
Yep.
So Phase 2 received final condo.
Yep.
Phase 2 and 3 did receive engineering approval, but Phase 3 did not receive final condo because of
Correct.
this.
Yes.
So you would be, depending on the outcome of this meeting, you would then go back to the PC with,
Yep. Yes.
the new dimensions and the new layout for
Yep.
Phase 3 for final condo.
Yep, perfect, yep, and that's what we understood. We just didn't want to have to start from square one and resubmit and everything, so.
So I just want to point out something too, that this, again, it technically, yes, is a wetland. It is confined within the banks of the ditch, so it's not like in a field area where the wetland will sometimes migrate and move into potentially the wetland buffer. This is fully contained within the bottom of the ditch. It is arguably a low-quality type wetland. If you look up at the screen where I'm pointing at right here, where this head wall is of this culvert, the area that's immediately in front of that culvert in the ditch, we're going to be, for the plans, we have to place stone that prevents the undermining of erosion that could undermine the culvert. So this area of wetland is virtually going to be stone. So the little triangle that we're asking for a buffer from really isn't buffering against much, and the same thing is occurring on the south side, on 147.
So we have to put those.
The riprap.
Yep, and the culverts.
Kayla, I'm looking at your recommendation, and in light of what our applicants have said this evening, what do you think? Community planner?
Hot seat today.
Do I need to push the power? Okay. So I think this addresses some of the criteria that we had in our review. What I would suggest, though, that you do so that you don't have to renotice this, right, and do a different variance, I would suggest granting, if you're going to go that route, granting the variance for all the lots as the application stated, with the condition that these lot lines that you are shown are what's brought back to the Planning Commission. You're going to want to make sure to impose that condition if that's the direction that you go, so that that's not lost with your decision.
Okay.
Are you saying that we wouldn't be able to approve this variance without approving the entire variance as written?
I'm not sure. not being an attorney myself, if you can partially grant the variance for just those 2 lots. So I would suggest granting the variance for all the lots as shown with that condition of the lot dimensions being changed, knowing that they're not going to be within that buffer zone. Is that?
That sounds
That's
fair.
Or denying,
That sounds correct.
or denying the ones.
Fully,
Yeah,
right.
if you were to deny the request from 133 to 140, based on the fact that the applicant is addressing that buffer, it's no longer needed,
Right,
and then proceed with the 2, you
Right.
know, I mean, it's,
Right, and I think
legally either way.
I think as part of the zoning board, we can work with the idea is to try to get as least amount of variance as possible. So if you come
Yeah.
through asking for
Yeah.
something and we look at and are able to make some accommodations for
yeah. We're here to be
less
fair
of
and
a
just.
variance, I think that is something that we can absolutely.
Truly appreciate that. That's why
Grant
we
his
worked
support.
very hard with Gordy over here to move everything and said, okay, how do we move this? How do we make this work? And we work on these lots, and then we're only coming in there and asking for 2, so we truly appreciate your help.
When did you decide to change the buffer on those lots 133 to 140?
When literally I got the planner's review letter, I think it was not the day before Thanksgiving, maybe Wednesday. So in a panic, I called these guys up. I said, listen, let's look at these options. Can we actually move that? And again, as developers and builders, you never want to reduce your lot size, right? Because obviously the bigger the lot, the higher value, all that good stuff. But, and we actually went to AEW, Gordy's firm, and we looked at it and said, can we actually, from 133 through 140, move that property line up? Move the storm sewer.
Because the storm sewer's in.
In that buffer.
rear property line, so that's the bigger issue.
Yeah, let me finish. Without having to go back and reinvent the wheel and still meet the requirement of the minimum lot size for R1D, which is a 10,000 square foot. So 133 to 140, yes, we can move that. We can move it all. So actually, our request for variance for 133 to 140 is a moot point at this stage.
Correct.
Based on this alternative.
And we actually just made it, like, it's 10,050 square
Yeah,
feet.
10,000.
Like,
Three of the
we
lots
just
are
made it.
10,050. So we're just right there.
And you no longer need a variance at 146 either.
And yes, you're correct. So lot one, so then what we did, we said, okay, well, let's look at these 3 other lots, okay? And now granted, the property line were infringed in the buffer more. So let's get creative here, Gordy, from an engineering standpoint, how do we lay these out? And what we decided is on that lot 146, we can actually move the property line as shown on the plan there. Now, again, it's a smaller lot, but it's still wide enough and fits within that estate-sized model, and it'll fit our bigger home, the building envelope that we plan on putting on that lot. And then for lot 47, we had no choice, because we wanted to keep it at a minimum 75 feet, so we had to clip that little corner of the buffer, but again,
And at the most, it's 90.
yeah, it's a small corner of the buffer, it's very,
trying to look a
very
little bit-
inconsequential,
As you go down from 150, 151, 152, and you said there's a total of 174 lots, so we're talking about, as Mr. Sacco was saying, we're talking about 2 lots at this point.
Yes, that's it.
And, but then Ms. Mylan also brought up a great point. When you look at the houses to the right, and we don't know all that, it stops at 152. So as I'm trying to look at on the site plan, what continues on past 152, and looking at the variances, so when we look at the variance for 150, I mean, what if you took, you had mentioned that, bigger the lot, the higher the value, taking that and just dividing it amongst multiple houses over the course. So instead of saying making one large lot between 150 and 151, making that like one lot, you're still going to lose a lot. I understand that. But then you're going to make all the way down from, I can't tell how, I can only see 150, 151, and part of 152. How many lots could then take that 75-foot chunk, and now you make all of them into, as I see it goes all the way, it looks like it stops at 155,
Yeah,
so.
So when you get to lot 153, they're pretty, you've got some, in the back, excuse me, you've got 113 feet, 112 feet. Again, when you get to a certain lot size, the market will only dictate so much, okay, in a certain price. So adding on to that lot after a certain point is really, futile. You need that extra lot, for economic feasibility and, the way it's laid out. And I understand, but, we're here, we've drastically reduced our request from what we initially submitted after we went back and looked at everything from an engineering standpoint and a site plan layout standpoint. So, the variance is just for 2 lots now, and it's, basically just a variance because we're touching into that buffer area slightly. But the practical effect of that is, as Brian indicated, one lot's gonna have pretty much all stone there. There's, it's not even gonna affect anything. Culvert, and so it's like, the intent of the ordinance is met. There's no detriment here to any wetlands, to health, safety, welfare, or anything of that.
Do you have anything, Mr. Sackler, from the actual planning commission, from over this process that you have to say is how, either has there been any, I haven't seen any variances, I couldn't find it, there's been no variances granted for phase 1 or phase 2, anything that was
No,
changed?
there was never a variance for anything that we've ever asked for.
Okay.
And again, the site plan has been approved originally, and if there was anything that we could have changed, we would have probably changed it from the beginning, so now changing it now, that's where the problem becomes
Yeah, I knew that.
a little more difficult.
No, I don't recall anything, Troy, from the planning commission's viewpoint or perspective. My own personal perspective here this evening is if you're talking about 2 lots among 175, I think we're down to splitting hairs, which is, to me, not what the zoning board is here for. We're here to be fair and just. I mean, if we were here to say it's got to be A, B, C, and D, we wouldn't have to be here. That Dana could do a form, check boxes off, and they would violate the box, or a couple, and then that would be the end of it. But our wisdom is here for a reason, and that's just my personal opinion. I wasn't expecting them to come here this evening and wipe out the 90% of the request on a variance, which is really a pleasant surprise to me, and that there's 2 lots remaining, and this is a property that was Utica Community Schools at one time.
Yep.
This is quite an ambitious development, so I think they have more going in their favor than not. That's my look at it.
Hey, what's that road called when they're going in? You guys got a name for that road yet? I don't have it on my map.
Were you gonna suggest one?
This one here, Summerhill Drive.
Summerhill Drive.
Summerhill?
We could rename it if you'd like.
Don't, I did that once, don't do that.
Ben Pollock Drive.
No. The reason why I'm, when you look at lot 50, when you're pulling in Summerhill Drive, that's gonna be the access to that plant, to that,
Are you saying 150?
Lot
150. So when they pull in there, how's somebody knowing that 14, almost 15 feet, they've got to stay away from on the left side of their lot?
Well,
And that's going to be, you're going to have that marked so they know not to make that part of the grass, make that part of the.
you can walk in buffer areas.
It's
You
enough.
just can't put anything in.
That's, I mean, how do we know that someone's not going to?
I think
Gordon
you're getting tight at 151, 152.
For the engineers for the project. I wanted to say just a couple things. As far as in answer to your question, we can certainly delineate that line in whatever manner that you feel is appropriate to delineate it so that we know what it is. But if I can approach.
Sure.
The water flows this way down through here, and see how this has a culvert and the wing walls coming out?
All right.
Those wing walls are permitted by Eagle already for a permit. So technically, to the end of that wing wall, that wetland's gone. Eagle's already permitted putting the wing wall in there and constructing that. So it's a little bit less than the 14 or 15 foot, not much, but it's a little bit. And one of the things I'd like to also add.
I don't know, I hate to have you do it, and I saw the picture, can you just say it again into the microphone, please? I know you told us, but, yep, and showed us the picture, but.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say a couple things. One, as I just showed you, there's wing walls that come out
I'm just kidding you.
on the
I know,
northerly side of
that makes a difference.
culvert are already permitted.
They should have
by
brought him
Eagle.
first.
Therefore, we've got our permit to do that work
I'm
over
learning.
there. The back side of that, or the yard side of that, is going to be filled in with structural engineered fill material so that it doesn't erode away and things like that. So it's going to be solid. So that reduces that width by just a little bit. So I think that's a critical issue to do. The other thing that was mentioned here, that this is a ditch, the wetlands are entirely contained within the ditch, just like your road ditch out front, which technically would be a wetland, and we don't put a buffer on the road ditch along Jewel Road or whatever. So I think we're covered there. I think we can delineate that wetland to adequately do that. And if we're down to just this little thing, we're hoping you recognize this. One of the other things I'd like to mention is, as part of this, it's not a normal requirement, but your engineer had us model a 100-year stormwater flow through here. So a 100-year event is something that has a 1% chance of happening any given year, and all of that is contained within the banks of the drain itself, that ditch area. So the wetlands below the top of banks, a 100-year storm is contained within the banks, and the Eagle's already permitted it, so we're hoping that you can see that we've given.
Yeah, I didn't, once you explained it, I saw those hash marks, so that's what I was leading up to, asking you what that meant, seeing that as wetland. That was my concern, because I was wondering what's there now, what's going to stop somebody from just saying, well, we're just going to cut that, and it's just going to be part of our land, obviously, and build something there. But you had said nothing's going to be built there. I think you got a heck of a lot going on here, like Bob said. 174, 175 lots, and you're only asking for 2 variances. That just takes just a little piece of a
I might add that,
I think that's cutting hair. I think.
Benny, I would add that Gordy Wilson is an expert on wetlands. He's proved that here in front of this zoning board and planning commission.
Yeah, well, needless to say,
We'll work with Dana and whatever Dana requires for those.
yeah, I appreciate you working on those other lots, and that 146 is fixed too now, so just these 2 here now.
For me, I would just like to see that in your master bylaws. If we were to approve this, I would just like it to say, that so the whole community knows, lots 150 and the other lot have it, that the homeowner signs off, and that the whole community knows that this is a area that can never be patioed, it can never have a pool, so we don't have to be sitting here in the future when a homeowner asks for something there. So,
Yeah, we can delineate that in the master deed and the restrictions.
Okay,
I think if that was the case,
Yeah,
Good
that's no
point.
problem.
and the gentleman from AEW, I think saved the day for me.
That's why he's here.
Yeah.
We had to pay him double time.
Yeah.
And just to clarify to your comment, any of these areas, similar to already that's in phase 1 and phase 2, like the detention ponds and things like that, and this wetland delineation buffer of 25 feet, that becomes common area in the parlance of the master deed docs. So it'll be clear to every homeowner who owes their master deed that that's common area, that's not my property.
Good.
I motion.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
We can do public comments.
Oh,
We got a hearing.
Yep.
We got a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Support.
All in favor? Aye.
Is anybody from the public, anybody that would like to come up and speak, any comments?
Motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
aye.
All right.
Right,
Okay, motion to vote on the open item for veranda.
all right. Rookie, you going to make the motion?
I am making the motion.
This is classic.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll go in order then. Mr. Sacco.
Wait, we got to read the
Make a
motion.
motion.
Oh, read the whole thing again?
Well, no.
Okay.
You got the page. You have it right there.
Yep.
Right there, and you go through the 5 elements.
And actually, if I can step back, I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, especially with Mr. Bukowski would have probably kept us in order.
Oh,
I made a notice to open public hearing. We first and seconded, we never read it.
okay.
That's okay.
Is that okay? Is
That's all right.
that legal?
We never had, in the past, we didn't read it in its entirety. I mean, you're more than welcome to,
If it was posted in the
yeah,
record
it's
newspaper?
it's not a requirement to read the entire notice at the meeting.
No, you can read the top part.
I was taught it was only I had to read the top part, so I don't know. I maybe went to the wrong school.
All right, let's cut that out. I'll do that.
All
That's
right.
good.
Okay, so do I have a support on the motion?
No, you
yet
have
on the
to
floor.
read, you have to tell us what your motion is.
So I'm making a motion to approve the request made by Phase 3 of Viridian, a single-family residential condominium development. Do you want me to keep reading the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, located on parcel 240436300043 for a variance from the Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.13, Environmental Provisions, E, Natural Resourcing Protection. Keep reading the whole thing?
Yep.
Okay, I'm so sorry. 1 natural resource greenbelt, and allow an encroachment into the 25-foot undisturbed greenbelt area with the boundaries of unit. Okay, we need to scratch that a little bit, though.
Yep.
How are we handling that, Dana?
You can state within the boundaries of the 2 units that are remaining.
Which would be, it's actually 3, isn't it?
2.
Okay, units 147 and 150.
Correct.
Exactly.
The ordinance requirement states that a 25-foot buffer, greenbelt undisturbed, shall be preserved around the boundary of any state-regulated wetland and all other flagged wetlands which are intended to remain on site and from the ordinary high water mark of any inland lake or pond, streams, creeks, or drains, improved or unimproved, specifically for residential development, and the required greenbelt shall not be part of a lot. This decision was based on the criteria as outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance, section 7.9E, zoning board of appeals, variance review procedures.
Can Kayla add something before you?
Of course, please.
So just a quick suggestion based on what I've heard. I think you want to deny the variance for 133 through 140, but approve it for 147, 146, and 150. With 2 conditions, one being that they follow the dimensions that they've shown here and introduced at this meeting. And the second being that they add in the master deed that there should be no building within that area that they've shown in that buffer. I think that captures everything that you have discussed here, but.
Very good, Kayla.
Thank you.
Okay.
But it's only the 2, correct?
Only the
The
2.
2, yes, sorry.
150.
Yeah, so the approval would be for 147 and 150, and then you would make another motion to deny
For the other
ones. But go ahead. You're doing good.
Actually,
Too good.
Okay, so,
we can actually withdraw the request for lots 133 to 140.
I don't know if you can withdraw part of it.
That makes it easier.
We'll just do this way.
That's fine.
I'm going to deny them.
okay, so we're going to deny it. So do you want me to read it again with the denial?
So go through the approval first.
Okay, so we're going through to the approval, read the whole motion again then.
Nope, you're good.
Okay.
Now you're down to the
5 elements.
criteria.
Okay, criteria 1, strict enforcement would not cause practical difficulty or hardship.
Would cause.
Okay, but I thought I'm denying the first 3.
Oh,
You want me to do the denial first?
We're doing the approval.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So it can be wrapped up in one motion. You're just specifying that based on the criteria, you are denying the variance for 133 through 140 and 146, approving it for 147 and 150, and then just make sure that you are clear with those conditions that you're putting on it.
Okay, so the conditions and circumstances unique to this property, recorded in the master deed, correct?
Yes.
No building is to be allowed on it. We don't want to see the new owner coming back into the board for a zoning board, right? We're going to write all that down, correct?
Right.
Okay, condition 3, and circumstances were created by the owner or self-created. We're not
not.
created by the owner or self-created. I'm never going to get this one right with this one.
It's all right.
You're doing
Okay,
good.
and the criteria number 4, will not confer special privileges.
Good.
Excellent. And number 5, will not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the ordinance.
Great.
Okay.
And is there anything else we need to add, folks, before I second this?
Thank you.
I don't believe the conditions were read into the record as part of your motion. Not the criteria, but your conditions that it be in the master deed, that you can't encroach within that buffer, and that they follow the dimensions
I
that
thought
were
you
shown.
did.
I thought I just read that.
Oh,
You added it as part of the criteria.
Condition
as
and
the reason.
circumstances, right?
oh, okay.
But then add a condition. That's part of the criteria as to why you made the decision, but then you add a condition.
I thought she did, but
I think I did, but I can do it again. So we want to,
well, I think we can just move it as, because she did read it, but she read it just kind of in the wrong spot. So as, she put it as conditions and circumstances, and those are conditional. Those are conditional upon this approval, is that, as she stated, that they'll be written into the minute, or they'll be written into the deed, that no building can take place in that land.
That's correct.
And, what was the other, and that,
That the dimensions of
and
the
the
lots as
dimensions
presented.
will be adhered to as presented here in this meeting,
Right, the new lot lines,
the new lot lines.
the
Yes, sir.
147 and 150.
It'll be wrote right, it's just everybody's saying everything, but get the idea, just those two lots, don't build on it,
The lot lines.
for what you gave us,
Yes.
and that's gonna be approved.
And make sure your people know.
Right.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I second
You would be
Michelle's.
changing the lot lines for all of the lots that they denied the variance for.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
So
they're all changing.
including the 133 through 140, because you showed that
Yeah.
that would be adjusted,
Yeah.
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 I think we're settled, and I second this motion.
Okay, roll call? Mr. Kosel,
Yes, to approve.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Sacco,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Pullen,
Yes to approve.
Mylum, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you, fellas. That was a
Minutes
nice
are-
presentation.
The minutes are what matter,
Yes,
so.
good job.
Marty was here, he understood everything, he's gonna get everything done for us.
Well, that's Mr. Wetlands. That's it.
Well, your comment with the eagle did it for me. It made sense. Thank you.
Okay. Second order of business, Washington Place, FKA Hampton House. Public hearing, parcel 240433, 224-042-054, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0 site standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements, D Village District. Just want to make sure everybody can hear okay. 1 3-foot-high decorative wall shall be constructed between parking areas located in the side yard and abutting public right-of-ways. Variance request from the requirement to install a 3-foot-high decorative brick wall along West Road. Location, northwest corner of Van Dyke and West Road. And we actually have 2 variance requests today for Hampton House. We're going to treat them one at a time. So we'll start off with the first one with the 3-foot-high decorative wall.
Okay. My name is Sydney Kanan. I'm with Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick. We are the engineering firm representing Hampton House, Washington Place now. So we've been before, I'll back up. The Washington Place project in a whole is to take the former Hampton House furniture store that has sat vacant for some time now and redevelop it and bring some new life into that area, into that building. As part of this process, we've developed this site plan. We went before the Planning Commission. We were approved, subject to the engineers and the planners' comments. And we couldn't quite meet all of those, which is what led us here today. So we've been working with Dana. We've been working with Cassie, who's not here, but Kayla, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And this item specifically on the brick wall, the intent, right, is to sort of shield the unaesthetic nature that is a parking lot and sort of beautify that as you would. So right now, our parking lot, existing condition is along West Road and along Van Dyke. We did propose the brick wall along the frontage of Van Dyke Road. And previously, we did not have a brick wall along West Road. As part of the comments from the planner and a couple meetings that we've had prior to this, we were able to add in a portion of that brick wall, that decorative wall, along West Road. But unfortunately, due to the existing conditions of the building and the sidewalk along West Road and some parking constraints, dimensional minimums that we need to meet for those, we weren't able to get it the entire frontage of West Road. So that is what we're here seeking the variance for as it relates to the wall. And we do have recommendation from the planner in support of that. We have done what we feel is everything we can to sort of meet this requirement while meeting, the intent of the ordinance, which is to provide that aesthetically pleasing nature as you're driving and passing through, the township. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
I think that brick wall would be, it would really make the downtown area much more, beautification of it. And then along West Road too, I think that brick wall, because the sidewalk is so close too, there might be some alterations there. And it looks like the whole structure, it looks pretty good, with the construction of the plants in front, and the front of the building is going to be upgraded like quite a bit too.
Yes.
But that's the only comments I have now.
Okay. And I'll try not to get into item number 2 and mix them, but we do hear your concern about, the sidewalk there, and it is existing. And without getting too far into item 2, there will be some buffer there between, pedestrian and vehicular to prevent some of those safety concerns.
Well, it's an unusual, as it's been for many years, as Hampton House on West Road, with AT&T building there. It's kind of been like a cog, something, a wrench in the works through the years to get things improved over there at that corner, West Road and the light, et cetera. And, this is a change, and it's more of a permanent change down the road in the future. So I think what Michael's asking and talking about with the wall, appealing in the village district to folks to being something that is a very proper and good-looking buffer. We from the prior meetings we have at the zoning board and with the planning commission, the whole reworking of the entryway into Hampton House and the re-landscaping and the re-looking is going to be a big boost to that whole spot. One of the areas that I empathize with you all with is the drain, and you're talking about bumpers versus curb stops, et cetera. That drain is no simple matter. That ditch and it is a big ditch, it ain't a little 2-foot ditch. We're talking about 10 foot wide maybe and about 6 feet deep. And that runs right between the post office and the Hampton House building and cuts right through the condo complex and behind it. So there's a situation there that has to be considered, especially when you talk about a large drain like that. So I know there was commentary by one of the staff about the township did X, Y, and Z, and they didn't ask for or do what Hampton House applicants are asking us, and I think it's totally 2 different examples. There's no drain running north, south, east, or west around this building that I know of. There's a serious one over there between the old Hampton House and the post office. So that deserves consideration. That's a good point you all bring up.
And I think I read somewhere in here that you were planning on, there was going to be over 80% of it was going to be walled.
Yes, I believe 80% of the frontage of our requirement is being met with the wall.
Okay. And did you say that since you submitted these plans, there was additional wall that you were talking about putting up, or that you figured out how to put more in?
Not since this submittal to the zoning board, but to planning commission. When we first received our approval for that, we didn't have any wall along West Road. And as a part of our discussions with, planner and Dana, we did find a way to essentially add some additional wall so that at least from, the corner, the intersection of West Road and Van Dyke, you're getting some of that aesthetic back.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that remedy that we produced at the Planning Commission, along with your cooperation and Roman's presentation a couple of times.
We wanted to get out of here tonight, so we let Roman stay over there.
Mr. Filibuster. I missed it. I was looking forward to this. But I would add that that resolution, but putting the swinging gate on that drive that goes back to the condos, is very important because the fire vehicles and EMT vehicles have to have an access into there. Now, it'll be closed for everyday traffic to go through there. It'll only be for emergency use.
Yep.
But it was really a great remedy, and your offer to work the road conditions for the condominium owners really got them happy.
Yep.
I can say that. And so, I mean,
Yes.
it's an important location in our downtown village. I hate the word downtown because it is a village from 26 Mile to Campground Van Dyke, but I think it's a very important focal point in Washington Township. And to have the opportunity of half a dozen businesses or so,
Yep.
I mean, this all means something to the folks who are going to live there and either walk there or ride a bike there. You know, it's really village stuff, and we really don't want empty buildings. And, you know, we're going on 2 years now, and we really appreciate you all getting involved here.
Well, we agree. We're just trying to put our best foot forward.
Okay.
Definitely thank you for the time and talent that's taken to do this. Anytime we can take a property that's already been there and isn't very desirable and make it desirable is a home run for all of us. So I appreciate it.
Of course. You know.
Any other comments?
I had to say as much as I could about the rest of it.
You want something after?
You all set, Michael? How about you, Sir Benny?
No, you both said it all and then some.
Did I? I tried to.
Not bad.
I try, but I can't meet up with Roman. Roman outdoes all of us. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
We want to, anybody want to make a motion?
Now you gotta do the open public hearing, all that fun stuff.
All right. We have a motion to open public hearings, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
You can make a motion, I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, so, public hearing, Washington Township zoning ordinance, Washington, Place, parcel 240433224-042. Do we have anybody from the public that would
Be a public hearing?
like to come up and talk?
You start reading them.
Anybody? Nobody's here for? any
You
public-
can make comments for it, too.
No?
And it
Or
doesn't have to
Let us
be
know what you think.
opposition.
Like to hear from you.
Nothing from you, Roman?
They put him on a gag order.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Support.
Well, all right. Close. Okay, any other comments? Any other questions?
Who supported? Anybody support?
Mike did.
Michael made it.
So it was motion by Sacco, supported by
Mike.
Fulled. Okay.
Are we just making a motion on the first one?
Just the
You have to
first
do
one.
it
right
Just the
now.
first
Yep,
one,
just the
right?
First one.
All right. Anything else? Any other comments? Members?
I guess we have a question, is you're working on this parking lot and the wall, is there a time frame or anything that, this is the last step that we'll need for total approval of finishing that parking lot and opening it up for traffic?
Yeah, once we're, and Dana can probably correct me if I'm wrong, once we're done, if we receive these variances tonight, we will resubmit for our administrative approval on the planning side, and then we are already underway for building department review, and we'll be underway shortly for final engineering review, and those will be the last two items before we can construct.
Okay.
I just have one more question. I know that the residents were upset, you know, where they have the condos. Now, is that, like, I can't recall, is that side entrance going to be blocked off? Going down towards the
Yes.
condos? It is, okay, good. Because the road commission approved the other opening of the road off of Van Dyke.
Yes, they did. There'll be one, right now, there's two entrances, one off Van Dyke, and one off Amanda Circle to that parking lot. And the one to Amanda Circle will be closed, and we're relocating the one off of Van Dyke, and we've coordinated that with the Department of Roads, and we do have their approval on
The one off Amanda Circle entryway is for the storage building.
Correct,
The other one is blocked, really.
Yes.
It's only used for emergencies.
correct.
And that really, warmed the heart of all the condo owners. They were excited about that, in addition to you taking care of the roads. But, all in all, I'm really impressed in how this thing evolved.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the request made for Washington Place located at 58531 Van Dyke, parcels 2404, 33, 224, 042, 054, for a variance from the Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.12, Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements, D, Village District 3. 1, 3-foot-high decorative brick wall shall be constructed between parking areas located in the side yard and abutting public right-of-ways, only for the areas that are abutting West Road and and not require the construction of a 3-foot-high decorative brick wall between the parking area along West Road. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Section 7.9E, Zoning Board of Appeals Variance Review Procedures. Criteria 1, strict enforcement would cause practical difficulty or hardship. As we stated before, there was, as Mr. Sackel pointed out, there's a drain that most properties don't have to experience, and constructing that wall could cause pooling of water that could also affect residents and traffic on Van Dyke. Conditions are unique to this property. As we said in previous variances, this was an old furniture store that's being renovated so that it can be used for commerce with the township and not sit vacant. Moreover, they're using a parking lot that's already existing there. Therefore, the conditions and circumstances were not created by the owner, as we stated. Again, this is an existing building that has a significant drain inside that parking lot. Therefore, it will not confer special privileges. We didn't bring it up, but actually in the packet, there's other businesses that have already along Van Dyke that don't have this wall that is put up. And with the beautification that you're doing and how you're decorating it and mitigating this wall, therefore, it will not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the ordinance here in Washington Township.
I have nothing to add, and I'll second the motion.
All right, we get a roll call.
Okay. Kosel,
Yes, to approve.
Pollock,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Sacco,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Polid,
Yes to approve.
Mylum, yes.
One down. Okay, in the second. C, under new business, Washington Place. Okay, Hampton House, public hearing, parcel 2404, 33, 224, 042, 054. Washington Township Zoning Ordinance, Article 5.0, Site Standards, Section 5.12, Off-Street Parking and Loading Requirements. F, Off-Street Parking Space Layout Standards. 20, reinforced concrete curbs, meeting the Washington Township Engineering Standards, and as approved by the Township Engineer, shall be required between all undeveloped areas and parking areas. The use of bumper blocks is prohibited. Variance request to use the existing bumper blocks in lieu of installing concrete curbs. Location northwest corner of Van Dyke and West Road. Kind of moving on to number 2.
Oh, obviously the same property, so I'll save you the spiel about that. And these two items sort of go hand in hand. I know the intent is beauty here, right? Parking blocks aren't always the most aesthetically pleasing, but unfortunately, due to the site constraints, the dimensions, the existing conditions, and the drainage patterns of the site, we really feel that this is the best way to move forward. And right with the wall along Van Dyke, in those locations along West Road that we just talked about. Majority of these proposed bumper blocks will be hidden from public view as you're passing by. So the only sort of visibility would really be if you're a patron of one of the uses of this building. And obviously on West Road, those are existing right now. So we're gonna hide some of those with our proposed wall, but unfortunately, we just don't see a way around those parking blocks. So again, I can answer any questions, maybe alleviate any concerns, and
I guess my first concern was when it comes to actually putting in, following the site plan, the actual standards in place. With the wall, for me, it was a little bit of space issue. We're trying to use the existing conditions. We're trying to fit something in a space where it's very difficult. It's a building that's been used as vacant. It's a way to occupy the building, great commerce. I guess I'm having a little bit more trouble just with how can we, what would be the difficulty when it comes to actually installing the curbs?
so
And, because I feel like that still gives you the space, we're not taking away parking space at this time, we're not getting near the roadways, we're not cutting into the walkways, the sidewalks. If anything, I feel like you can pull further forward, and I might be wrong, without the blocks in place.
So the blocks themselves are in the curb. At its root is really to stop the tire of the car. So to your point, the space required is the same whether it's the parking block or the curb, but there is a drainage concern here as is still present with the wall, but is remedied. Much the way of parking blocks, the water can sort of run between those parking blocks, whereas at a curb, right, it traps the water, and now we would have to provide somewhere for that water, that drainage to go. Again, because it's an existing condition, we really don't have a lot of room to make that happen. If we were to make that happen, you know, specifically on the West Road side, the only way to do that and still meet the engineering requirements of maximum slopes of pavement, you'd probably have to lower the pavement at the building, which then gets into architectural items that I don't necessarily have the ability to talk on, but Roman could in terms of, you know, aesthetics of the foundation of the building and those types of things. So it would create a hardship in the aesthetic of the building, the maximum pavement slopes, and allowing that water to escape and not create a flooding concern.
No, that's a serious concern, the drainage and the water. The way it's worked through the years is through these blocks. To change that, we really can't foresee anything positive. And that, to me, is a major concern as far as that whole plot of land. Because this isn't a little ditch. It's a serious drain area. So I got to empathize with your request
Yeah, and
to
water-
keep it as it is.
And water does pool there, you know.
Yeah, there you
If you
go.
drive that route every day, you see that the water does pool there. So hopefully now that the post office has done their parking lot, and you guys are gonna be there doing your parking lot, hopefully this is gonna get better.
Yes.
And you need that. I can see where the whole curb would just be
Oh,
a
yes.
huge problem,
Yes.
unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
And if I could clarify, and this is the briefest you'll ever hear of me, Roman Bonislavsky.
Oh, boy.
From Ron and Roman. In fact, so that everybody understands, that brick wall construction is rather complex because we examined the opportunity to leave out portions of brick for drainage, decided that was technically not going to work. We've actually elevated the entire base on a steel structure that sits 4 to 5 inches above grade and is then covered with landscaping, but all drainage passes under that wall all the way around.
Very good.
Thank you.
Excellent. Sorry for the car that hits it.
Okay.
See no other questions? Make a motion to open public hearing,
I'll second that motion.
and in the briefest of terms.
public hearing
Yes, we
in
have,
regard to what parcel?
Yep, notice is hereby given that the Washington Township Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing for parcel zoning ordinance, parcel 240433224042 at the northwest corner of Van Dyke and West Road. It's time. Does anybody from the public want to speak on the curbs? Quietest you've ever had.
Hearing none, I'll motion to close the public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right. You ready to go there, man in motion, right, Troy?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve
I'll
The re-
second.
the request made for Washington Place located at, some of these go like 2 or 3 hours, you know.
I got a date at 8. You know why it does it? Because it's like the space there makes my brain think. I'm going to write this differently, Dana.
Made for Washington Place located at 58531 Van Dyke, parcel number 24043224042-054, for a variance from Washington Township zoning ordinance, Article 5.0 Site Standards, Section 5.12, off-street parking and loading requirements, F, off-street parking space layout standards, 20, reinforced concrete curbs, meeting the Washington Township engineering standards, and as approved by the township engineer, shall be required between all undeveloped areas and parking areas. The use of bumper blocks is prohibited, and allow the use of bumper blocks in lieu of reinforcement concrete curbs throughout the parking area. This decision was based on the criteria outlined in the Washington Township zoning ordinance, section 7.9E, zoning board of appeals variance review procedures. I guess I should have said this beforehand, but before I hit criteria 1, when I drove in that parking lot today, again, and looked at it one more time to try to visualize this, the drain was the one thing that really stood out to me, and I'm glad that you brought that up right away. And when looking at a parking lot and researching what are the uses for this, is that pooling of water is dangerous and an eyesore and detrimental. So strict enforcement would cause practical difficulty or hardship. As we said, the trapped water at the curb cannot find a way to tie into the drains without raising the building or changing the entire level of parking lot. Therefore, conditions and circumstances are not unique to the, or I'm sorry, they are unique to the property. Tying back into the drain and the pooling issues that would be a problem should that water not be able to escape. Therefore, these conditions and circumstances were not created by the owner or self-created. This will not confer special privileges as stated in the last variance. There are other properties along Van Dyke, I believe there was 9 is what I counted, that currently use bumpers, and some of these are older buildings that have been there for a while. Therefore, this will not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the ordinance. Although bumper blocks are not ideal, with the landscaping that you're attempting to do and attempting to hide as much as you can from the, and all the work that you've done working with the township to restore a building that was vacant, I believe that that is the spirit of the township.
Okay, now I'm going to second it.
All right, can we get a roll call?
Love it. Okay, roll call. Mr. Kosel,
Yes.
Mr. Pollak,
Yes.
Mr. Sacco,
Yes.
Mr. Pullen,
Yes.
Mylum, yes.
All right, we look forward to
Thank
seeing
you,
when
guys.
you open everything up.
Thank you.
Welcome, good luck.
All right. Public comments, any public comments at this time? Yes, sir. Anything you'd like,
Anything.
anything you'd like, it's wide open. Can you come up to the
Come on
microphone,
up,
please?
buddy.
Steve Urbanek, 57550 Cider Drive. Just curious on all of the Viridian projects and how they just, the ditch that runs through the property will Price Drain supplies the detention ponds in that for Willow Ridge. And there's a lot of issues that we're looking at with tens of thousands of cubic yards of dirt that they put in to raise the elevation 6 or 8 feet. Everything flows into Price Brook diagonally across all of Viridian properties. And when I hear about wetlands being shrunk and, Cordy took a look at it, permits are approved by Eagle, I understand all that, but do you folks look at elevations and what all that does to downstream, like Willow Ridge? Is that, I didn't hear that as a part of any of the conversation.
Yeah, all of that is addressed during the engineering phase. The site itself has to be self-contained, so the level of discharge can't be any, it can't impose on other properties it's like an agricultural rate of discharge, which is, it's actually better than what it was when it was vacant because it's controlled. So all of that is handled throughout the engineering phase, and they do have engineering approval for all phases. Obviously, they're building in, in one phase and going to start in the second phase, but they do have engineering throughout all 3 phases.
So what was the original input from the vacant land when Willow Ridge was constructed? What was the engineering that said, here's how much water's coming through Price Brook into the Willow Ridge middle detention pond? What is that? Compared to the engineered number from Meridian?
So all that information you can get from our DPW department.
No.
No.
I've asked for 4 years.
They would be the.
I made a FOIA and asked for that.
Yeah, have you spoke with our DPW director?
Mike Kozik, Mr. Amormino, Sam Sebastian, talking to a wall.
Were you at the meeting? There was a meeting a couple months ago. I know the residents had some questions, and I'm trying to, because you look familiar, were you part of that meeting with the HOA with Willow Ridge or no?
I'm not the vice president there. I didn't know there was a meeting with the HOA there.
Okay. I can definitely take your information and have someone get back with you if you want to do that.
You understand the question, though? When they built Willow
understand.
Ridge Detention Pond, somebody said there's going to be 80 cubic feet per minute coming through at the 100-year floodplain, whatever that number is.
Mhm.
And then there's a new number of 62 maybe for Viridian. I've seen that number vary a little bit. But I've been trying to find what those numbers are to say, yes, you're correct, it's less. Can't get that number.
Yeah, we can definitely get you that information. All that's handled through engineering, so we can definitely get you what it is that you're looking for.
One number.
Mr. Urbanic, did you want to go, Troy?
I was just going to say, so, and if I understand this correctly, is when they put that number in there, is what you exactly what you said, and that's kind of the only thing that was alluded to in this meeting was that 1%, that 1%, that 100-year storm that comes through, and that the detention, according to engineer standards, whatever they decide those standards are, these properties, this building, this phase 3 is supposed to be contained within that, as in it should be nobody else's problem in any of the other developments around the area, which is different than when it was farmland, when that water could just run off anywhere, where whoever owned that farm field didn't have to contain that, self-contained it is, which I'm sure you're aware of. But as far as what that number is, I don't think anybody has that number off.
Not offhand, but it's.
But if you haven't got it.
Definitely.
How can you approve a project without knowing that number?
Mr. Urbanic, could I please address you for a minute? Because I think this might help put your mind at rest just a teeny bit. So the neatest thing that I discovered and didn't know is when they came here tonight, our order of business was to give them a variance on, I believe it was 10 or 11 additional lots. Mm-hmm. They read our review that came from, who did the review? Was Spalding Decker did the review? And
Kayla, blame Kayla.
okay, but no, that's actually a good thing, though. What had happened is they took into account the Willow Ridge subdivision and the other subdivision, and they said, we recommend a non-approval of this based on these ideas here. Before we even had the chance to vote, they were given that information, Viridian was, and they decided to correct the problem on their own. So they took the 10 lots that they were going to ask for the variance and wiped it out immediately. So that told me exactly that your due diligence and homework was being done, and they knew it wasn't going to go through, and they went and asked for something that could have a little bit more give and take. So if you're thinking maybe, is everybody at the helm watching the ship? I believe in this instance, with these neighboring communities, it was watched, and they did a real good job of getting it right, if that makes sense.
Still can't get my number.
I don't have your number, and I don't know that anybody sitting at this table would have that number, just because it is so long ago. It's pre-dates probably most of us, and we're just fortunate to have Dana here most of the time, because she was telling me the project she worked on, and she goes, oh yeah, and I said, what year did that happen? And she said 1998. So we're lucky to have her, so if she can't remember something,
Yes.
we always go back, but we're just fortunate that normally she knows these things off the top of her head, but is not required to know these things.
Yeah.
So.
Not engineering stuff.
Right, it's just us to have you and
Yes.
have a thought that
Thank
can
you.
keep us current on these things, but exactly, Dana will get you
Yeah.
pointed in the right direction. Hopefully, we can get this.
I don't need
forward.
more direction, and I don't need
You just want a
bouncing
number.
around. All I want is,
Is a number.
what was the number for Willow Ridge coming in off that vacant
Sure.
property? And what's the number today coming from Veridian? Simple.
And I don't know that any of us have been made aware of this question before tonight.
I have.
Oh, you haven't either. So, now that we all know this question, maybe we can find the answer and make that
Who
answer
answers a
public.
FOIA? Who answers a FOIA from this group?
So the township clerk is our FOIA coordinator, and all the FOIAs go through the clerk's office.
Okay.
So whatever you submitted, they will supply the specifics. So if what you're stating, you would have to say specifically what you needed a copy of.
I did.
Okay,
I got prints, but they don't have the information on it.
okay. So you're looking for more of a detailed analysis versus just
One
a
number I
plan.
want. One number.
What's
What was the design of the water coming off that vacant property into Willow Ridge Middle Pond? There has to be a number for that in cubic feet per minute.
Okay.
And if Veridian put a design in, there has to be a number for that. So the question is, do they match?
Steve, I agree with you. The number has to exist. And one thing about our process, it is not something that somebody gets on the agenda overnight.
Yes.
Anyone who's got an idea or a plan, they're going to discuss it with staff here before they even come to a pre-planning committee meeting. And you've heard that word before, pre-planning committee. This issue could have, that we're asking for about the number, that could have been mentioned, acknowledged, referred to at a pre-planning. It could have been mentioned, referred to, acknowledged before the pre-planning as the staff worked with the folks who were trying to get on the agenda. But there's a process and it's several steps. And I got a feeling that what you're asking for exists. There's just nobody seems to have a handle on how to get it yet, or the right person knows how to get it, but I'm confident they will.
You're going to ask the same people that I asked, I'm sure.
Exactly, no, I would,
No, I think we have some other people we can ask.
yeah.
We can get to the bottom of this.
Will you give me your contact
Sure.
information?
Thank you.
We'll do the best we can, Steve.
ZBA member comments. Well, it might help you sleep better, though. if it's-
That ain't the only thing that's too late. Dana's smiling, she knows what I mean.
Comments? ZBA?
Yeah, what do we got, Troy? ZBA member comments?
Member comments.
One thing I would like to mention, we came across the notice of public hearing and reading the minutes or the notice of the hearing. I don't think it's a fatal flaw or omission or an error that we don't read that entire page. I think it's advisable that we do it, it's good that we do it, but it's not absolutely something that has to be done in order to complete our work here at every board meeting. When we have written information, that's all part of the public record. Each case under new business, listed under A, B, C, and D, lists the information that's very relevant. Public hearing, parcel number, the zoning board, all that, that's all part of the record and it's written. So you read that, Troy, the chair will read that every time. So, when we say let's have a public hearing and we may forget to read the entire page. Okay, so that happens. It's not fatal in my opinion. Even if we read just part of the public hearing sheet right at the top, the same things that was on the agenda page, those other relevant bits of information.
You get in the
So-
habit of doing the
Yes.
same thing for so long that you
Yeah.
change something up and it's like, oh,
No, I know, we've done it at the ZBA for the last 4 years, and I can tell you on the planning commission for 14 years. I think I can count one hand that's been done. So I mean.
I might start doing it.
So
I don't know if I
mean,
feel good without doing it. So, all right, any,
ZBA comments?
yeah,
Okay, you had mentioned tree lighting, Mr. Kosel. Yes, you're correct. Tree lighting is a good thing to announce.
yes,
You brought it up. It's December 13th
thank you.
at 6:30 PM.
Didn't have it written down. So
That's the Christmas tree lighting.
Christmas tree lighting,
Washington Township Christmas tree lighting.
which, just behind the township hall, right?
Oh, yeah. there's-
Yeah, they're doing a whole walkway,
Yeah.
light walk kind of thing around the
Is
path.
Santa going to be there, Dee?
I hope so.
All right.
A lot of sad kids if he's not.
Well, I see, you know, no, no. I'm not messing with it.
All right. Anything else? No. We've already made our election of officers.
Yeah,
We get a motion to adjourn.
all right. Motion to adjourn.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.